Welcome to StoryTalky, a channel which provides an opportunity to improve your language skills. Today's or tonight's story was written by Clare Grey and read by us, StoryTalky. Get yourself comfy and let's begin. People can find courage at the worst times, Owie realized. Deep inside, he had great strength too. Genzaburo Owie stepped off the train into the warm August air. It was early morning and the city was quiet. Maybe it was a morning like this on August 6, 1945, he thought. On that day, American airplanes flew over Hiroshima and dropped the world's first atomic bomb. The world was never the same again. Most people agree that this terrible bomb ended World War II. As a result, many thousands of lives were saved. But the bomb also destroyed thousands of lives in and around Hiroshima on that day. For years, people suffered and died from terrible, painful A-bomb illnesses. Even today, 60 years later, people continue to suffer from the results of the A-bomb. As Zoe thought about his son and the terrible history of Hiroshima, he felt sadder and lonelier. How could he ever find hope in this difficult world? The next morning, Owie walked through Hiroshima's Peace Park toward the hospital. He wanted to interview the hospital's boss, Dr. Fumio Shigeto, for the magazine. As he pushed open the hospital doors, he immediately thought of his sick son. He wanted to escape from the clean smell of medicine quickly, but as Owie listened to the doctor's story, he became more and more interested in the problems of Hiroshima and the courage of its people. On August 6, 1945, young Dr. Shigeto was waiting for a bus to take him to Hiroshima city center. Suddenly, there was a bright light and a silent wave of heat. In seconds, the A-bomb destroyed almost everything around it. Buildings, trees, cars, and people. Luckily, the doctor was standing next to a strong wall, and he was not burned or killed. But seconds after the bomb, his ears were filled with the screams of people suffering around him. His position seemed helpless, but Dr. Shigeto calmly opened his black doctor's bag and began helping the person nearest to him. The problem was much too big for one person, but nothing could stop the doctor. He worked bravely to stop the suffering. He did not rest for 2 weeks. On the worst day in Japanese history, Dr. Shigeto did everything possible for the people around him. As Owie listened to Dr. Shigeto's story, he began to understand more about true courage. Every day, 1,000 people died, but I continued, the doctor explained. People can find courage at the worst times, Owie realized. Deep inside, he had great strength, enough strength to fight for his son's life. Back in Tokyo, Owie visited his son's hospital and talked seriously to the doctors. This was the most important change of my life, he said later. I began to do something for my son, for myself, and for my wife. For 6 years, Owie and his family worked hard to give their disabled child the best possible life. They played music to him and read him stories. We love you, they told him. But little Hikari could not reply. At the most difficult times, Owie remembered Dr. Shigeto's courage. It always gave him the strength to continue. Hikari loved the sound of birds singing, so Owie bought a cassette with bird songs and the birds' names on it. Hikari listened silently to the cassette for hours, still unable to speak. But Hikari wanted to tell his loving family, I love you too. One day, Owie was walking in a small forest, with Hikari on his shoulders. Suddenly, Owie heard the sound above him. He thought he was dreaming, It's a water rail, the voice said. Owie stood in silence for 5 minutes. Then it came again. First, the high sound of a bird singing, and then his son's clear voice. It's a water rail. Hikari could finally speak. After all their hard work, the Owie family could enjoy the results. Owie learned from Dr. Shigeta's courage. And now, Hikari showed great courage too. The young boy loved listening to music. It was difficult for him, but he learned to read music and play the piano. Slowly, with his family's help, he learned to speak too. By the age of 18, Hikari was writing his own music and people loved it. Today you can buy Hikari Owie's music in stores around the world. Music is his language, and the love of his family helped him as much as any medicine. We cannot imagine the fear that Dr. Shigeta felt in Hiroshima in 1945. But millions of people around the world face personal difficulties, like Kenzaburo and Hikari Owi's every day. Owi learned about courage from Dr. Shigeto, and Hikari learned to be brave from his father. In the same way, we can all learn about courage from the stories in this book. When times are difficult, remember these brave people. You too can find the strength and courage that you need. This is the end. StoryTalky hopes you have enjoyed the reading.